Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of our baseball podcast. Joined as always by David Swor. I am DJ Cox. And David, I think of all the former teammates that we've had over the years, this one chimes in a lot on our podcast and things we talk about and has never came on the show himself. So it's about time, Josh. That's all I got to say, man.
Yes, it's absolutely great to be here because I've been stalked by you for like 9 months. So I'm looking forward to it.
You can run, but you can't hide, Josh.
That's right. All the way up north in Chicago, guys. I have to tell you, I'm on with a Yankees fan and a Cubs fan. I mean, I have to pat myself on the back a little bit for this. So.
Unbelievable.
Well, you can dance all over us. You can dance all over us tonight, Josh. You got bragging rights with the World Series this year, so
finally, yeah.
Have at it.
I had to text Josh all week to remind him, hey, coming on Tuesday, right? Yes, mama.
Yes, mother. Yes, 9 Central. I'm here.
Well, that's awesome, man. It's great to have you on. We're going to get into a lot of stuff about your career and the Braves later on in the show. But David, I'm going to kick it off, and I'll have both your perspective on this. This is a wide topic we're going to start with, and they met again today to try to end this stupid lockout so we can have some baseball on March 31st. It didn't sound like it went anywhere, David. It sounded like things went bad again today. What I've been hearing is if they don't get a deal done by March 1st, then we're really in trouble for March 31st for opening day. I'm very much thinking this is not going to happen. I'm not very optimistic. 100%. It sounds 100% from everything I've been hearing that the DH is going to go to the NL permanently. I think they've already agreed on that. The union has also, taken away some of the service time requirements they wanted in this deal. Some of this stuff is starting to go a little bit towards the owners a little bit, but it's not good. I guess they sat down for 90 minutes and there was a lot of yelling going on. So I think that'll put them back to square one. So David, I know this is a really broad question, but what are your thoughts on the lockout so far?
I'm just going to be really honest and say I haven't been following it that much, DJ, just to be honest with you. But the stuff like this is hard for the average person like us three guys to get our arms around. We're talking about two sets of millionaires, two people representing millionaires arguing about who needs to get more money. And I just have no interest in that at all. It kind of, I'm not going to be one of these people who's like, I ain't watching baseball no more. I'm not that guy, but it honestly, it makes me want to less, if you want to know the truth about it. Just get it done. Get it done. People need baseball, and maybe there has been one, but has the NFL ever had a lockout that you can remember? Has the NBA, I think they've had maybe one. Baseball can't get it right, and I just don't understand it. Some of this stuff is easy, but DH in the NL, that's easy. Why are we even arguing about that? You know what I mean? I don't know why they just can't get it done.
Yeah, it's very frustrating, no doubt. I'm definitely in the same boat as you. I'm not one of those guys who's going to say, hey, this is stupid, I'm done with it. But think about the last few years we've had with this this sickness going around and everything, and how they shut everything down. And baseball hasn't been on a normal schedule in a very long time. And there was a lot of things going on last year that weren't normal either. So it's been a while. And if we have another mess up in this, it's only going to hurt the game even more. And it's very frustrating. And this game does not need this at this time. It's got a lot of young superstars who can make this game come to the peak right now. And they need to take advantage of it and come to a deal. So Josh, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I have a take actually that's kind of like yours. After COVID, this is what the fans need is baseball. Constantly, masking up and all this, all the politics. We need to get on the field and play the game. Just period.
Yeah. This for a lot of people is an escape from all this crazy stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
There's other things out there, guys. You know what I mean? The NBA season runs kind of parallel with MLB. Then you got college football that runs in there. And this is going to run people off. Like I said, it's not going to run me off. And you think about what it does do to these young stars as far as records and Hall of Fame and all this stuff we like to argue about. I mean, just to be honest with you, on the basketball end of things, my daughter has a real good shot at getting 1,000 points. She lost 4 or 5 games last year and has lost 3 or 4 games this year. And it just makes it hard to do that kind of stuff. And it's unfortunate. So they just need to get it right, man. Let's play ball.
Yeah.
That's absolutely awesome, man. Very good point there. And man, that's really cool. She's that close to 1,000 points. And so, Josh, another little point about the Swor family. So I think that he's going to leave me on this podcast because all of a sudden, Josh, he's a famous musician now. So, David, talk for a second real quick about you guys getting on the radio this past week.
Yeah. So, my oldest daughter is a junior, getting ready to be a senior. The other one is in the 9th grade. We've been doing this singing thing for a while. And I thought, man, before they graduate, because that's probably going to be the end of this, I want to give this one shot. And so we got hooked up with a guy who put us in touch with a promoter. And so this past week, we were fortunate to be able to release a song to radio. It's a familiar song to you guys if you listen to especially country music. There Was Jesus, which was recorded by Zach Williams and Dolly Parton. So put a little bit different spin on that. And I don't know, man. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, with me personally, I love music too. I mean, because I'm on the praise team, different things in my church like that. And so that's awesome.
Hey, I remember, Josh, you were.
Yeah, I was in Redemption at Temple. Yeah.
Exactly, man. That was awesome. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. So congratulations on that. That's really awesome, man. I was excited to hear that for you, man. And like I said, you get rich and famous. Don't forget about our little podcast here. So
yeah, don't count on
it. So the Mets, Josh, have hired Buck Showalter. Awesome manager. I've always been a fan of Showalter. I know he was a Yankee there for a while, David. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this later on. I think he was the best fit for what they're doing right now. I really do. I think it was a great hire. He knows how to handle New York, and he's a winner. However, I'm just not sold on the Mets, guys. I'm really not. I'm just not. DeGrom's got a lot of injuries under his belt. Scherzer's getting older. I know that's a 1-2 punch. If they're on, it's over those 2 days. I get that. But they lost Conforto and Javi Baez, and, they replaced it with Marte, Canna, and Escobar. I don't know how that makes you better, but they also lost Marcus Stroman. So I'm not sure what the Mets are doing. They're not really gaining too much, in my opinion. I think they're just kind of staying where they're at, if not setting back a little bit. Robinson Cano will be back with them this year, but he's 40, so I don't know how much he's going to give them. So this team was 77 and 85 last year, so you got to remember that they're a long ways away. So, Josh, who do you think of when you think of Mets? And talk about Buck Showalter a little.
Actually, I like Buck. I mean, because at the Orioles, I mean, man, he turned them around. I mean, Baltimore hadn't been to the playoffs in I think like 15 or 16 years, and he got there, and bam, they're in the playoffs. So, but I mean, on the Mets, I always remember Mike Piazza because I couldn't stand him. I mean, because I'm a big Braves guy and stuff. But yeah, talk about the Mets. That's kind of who I think of.
Mike. Yeah, Mike.
I want to remind DJ, Josh, since we're on this subject, and you guys knew I was going to go off the path here. Mike Piazza's in the Hall of Fame, and there was definitely steroid rumors. So
that's right.
Just let him in, guys. Get over it.
Yeah, he's a good point. He's another guy we didn't really talk about too when we were talking about Pudge, and we were talking about some of the guys that were very sus that they've been letting in recently. Piazza's on that list too. You're right about that. Yeah. But yeah, what are your thoughts overall, David? I know he was the Yankees manager for a while, so what do you think he's going to do for the Mets?
I don't know what to think about Buck Showalter, to be honest with you. I love him. I loved him on Baseball Tonight. Always a great perspective. He's obviously been around a long time. I'm going to say this about the Mets. Do not sleep on the Mets. I think there was just such a dumpster fire last year, the culture. I think the talent is there, and they're going to keep adding. They got an owner that wants to spend money, so don't sleep on the Mets. As far as Showalter goes, he's won, I believe, 4 Manager of the Year. But what I have noticed, 2 of his 4 stops after he left the year after they won the World Series. And so it begs the question here a little bit. I mean, he's famous for taking last place teams and getting them competitive. but he can't seem to get him over the hump. And so I don't know what that's about. I'm not saying he's a bad manager or anything, but it's got to make you wonder. I mean, it happened twice. So overall, good hire. I can't really complain, and don't sleep on the Mets.
Oh man, we're gonna.
I have to add in on the contract of Max, man. He's getting on up there, and I mean, he's a beast pitcher, but he's, I mean, that was a huge contract for his age, I thought, but I don't know.
Hey, they're playing with monopoly money in New York now. That's what I'm saying. Don't sleep on them. I mean, as they are right now, yeah, okay, not that impressive. Marte's definitely an upgrade over Conforto. He's a true center fielder. That's going to help them. I don't know what they're going to do at shortstop. Cana's a good player. They got Max Scherzer now, obviously a really good replacement for Stroman. I'm telling you, man, you can't sleep on them.
We'll agree to disagree on that, man. We'll be fighting on the Mets all year long on how much we like them for sure. I'm not a fan. They may be a little bit better than the Braves next year because the Braves are going to start heading south for the winter. So we'll see how that.
Hey, and Freddie might end up on the other side of town. I'm just hearing rumors, that the Braves are playing games and the Yankees are going to be playing with monopoly money too.
Yes, I cannot believe this. Why is he not signed already?
It's the dumbest thing. Nobody can explain it to me.
I'm getting angrier by the minute. Yeah.
They're already talking about Matt Olson and all these other people. Like, what about your MVP, man? Get that guy back.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I agree 100%, man. That should have happened before this lockout happened. And one thing that is going to be cool about this, though, is if they get this thing settled in the next week or two, we're going to have what we had all over again in November where all these guys were just signing like crazy. That was a lot of fun. So it's going to happen again. It's going to be like round 2 here coming up soon, hopefully. So that's going to be something to watch for and a lot of fun for all of us to check out. So Mark Kotsay hired by the A's, David. So he's coming in. The A's are rebuilding, no doubt. They've got a team that Bob Melvin's gone now, went to San Diego, which was a great move for San Diego, no doubt. And I think this was a great move for the A's for where they're headed. Mark Kotsay seems, from everything I've read, to be an awesome guy. Something that everybody is looking forward to there in Oakland. But I'm telling you, man, when you have Tony Kemp and Elvis Andrus penciled in as your 1 and 2 hitters, you got a really long way to go. And another problem is too, David, is we know Olsen and Chapman are gone. Like, these two are going to be out of there in no time flat. The A's do this all the time. They're going to get rid of their big names, if not sooner than the deadline. Maybe this offseason. There's a lot of rumors flying with those guys. So they're going to be down in the cellar for sure. Kotsay had a good baseball career and spent a lot of time as a coach leading up to this job. He played for 7 different teams in his career. Longest tenure was at the Padres for 5 years, and he played with the A's and the Marlins for 4. So, David, what are your thoughts on Kotsay getting hired by the A's?
I'm going to be honest, I have no idea. But one thing I do know is the A's typically make very good decisions. And it's usually something that works out over time. I'll trust their judgment on this one. Great playing career. He's been in the front office. He's been a bench coach. He's been a hitting coach. So I'm going to go with history and say this is probably a good hire.
What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, and I will tell you all this. I will tell you Oakland is going to give him time. Plenty of.
Yeah.
I think the A's probably keep their managers like an average of like 20 years, it seems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Bob Melvin was there for forever. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Russa before him.
Time to get it done, I think. So, yeah.
So, Josh, what were your thoughts on the Bash brothers growing up? We kind of always talk about McGuire and Canseco there. So, what were your thoughts as a kid on those two?
Yeah, it was in the late '80s, I think, early '90s, I think, and man, Jose Canseco was a beast, man. I mean, he hit bombs like over the stadiums. But he's not in the Hall of Fame because he was a meanie, I guess. But he hit bombs, man. Like game after game, just bombs.
Wasn't he the first? I might be wrong in this, but wasn't he the first 40-40 player in history? Am I thinking about that right?
I believe, yeah. Mm-hmm.
He wasn't good enough. He's not famous.
Yeah, because I remember him. Because he was on the covers like of all I mean, and stuff, like all these magazines, he didn't have any clothes on the cover. He was a wild man. I remember that.
And Mark McGuire's only got 600 home runs, DJ, or pretty close to it, 575. He only saved baseball in 1998. Nah, he's a meanie too.
Yeah, those Bash brothers, man, they were completely unbelievable, no doubt. Yeah, Jose Canseco walked everywhere with no shirt on. That's a definite true fact there by you. So real quick, Larry Bittner, former Cub, passed away this past week, a couple weeks back. Sweet swinging lefty, played for 4 different teams: the Rangers, Expos, Reds, and Cubs. He played 5 seasons for the Cubs at Wrigley Field there from 1976 to 1980. Obviously, I didn't get to see him play because that was before our time, but his career went from 1970 to 1983. 29 career homers and 354 RBI in his career, and he batted a respectable 273 for his career. His best season was in 1977 with the Cubs, where he hit 12 bombs and 62 ribbies, 298 average that year as well. He died at the age of 75 after a long battle with cancer. So Larry Bittner, rest in peace. Anytime the Cubs guys go down, they always make a big deal about it. That's very unfortunate that this happened to him. But he seemed to be one of those guys that would come off the bench, and the Cubs were terrible in the late 70s. That was a really bad team, just so you guys know. I'm sure Josh will just say, well, the Cubs are terrible all the time. But they were really bad in the late 70s, and he was a big part of that team. So definitely rest in peace for him. Josh, go ahead and say it. I know you want to say something about the Cubs. Take your shot.
I mean, I really have no comment on the Cubs at the moment. I mean, like in the 80s, I'm pretty sure the Cubs were pretty bad in the 80s too.
And most of the 90s.
Yeah, 84 and 89 were pretty dominant, but just fell short like we always do. So, all right. So, guys, I'm going to put this one over to you, David. So, Yankees have signed top international prospect Roderick Arias. So, yeah, he signed a $4 million deal. So they believe that this guy could be the guy of the future. He's another shortstop. He's from the Dominican Republic. He has a great arm. He can switch hit. He's known as a 5-tool player, 6'2", 178 pounds, and an absolute cannon of an arm. He's already listed automatically as a top 10 prospect for the Yankees, which was kind of unreal to see. Normally these guys go on the bottom and work their way up, but he's already up there. And the Yankees also have Anthony Volpe and Oswaldo Perzaza as the top shortstop prospects as well. So you hear a lot of rumors about Anderson Simmons coming to the Yankees. You hear about all these Band-Aids that might happen. So what's going on at shortstop for the Yankees in the future, David? There's a lot of pieces here.
So number one, Roderick Arias. I'm just going to say he has the look. I don't know what that is. You know how when you see somebody and it's just like, yeah, that dude's a stud. I think this guy's a stud. We'll see. Only 17 years old, but he's got the build. He's a switch hitter. I'm looking forward to seeing that guy. As far as shortstop with the Yankees goes, I read something really interesting today. Peraza was in Double-A last year and did really well. And so now the thinking is they may actually promote him, which I think is really interesting. He's already good on the fielding side, but the real prospect, the guy to watch out for is Volpe. He broke out last year out of nowhere. He's the consensus number one prospect with the Yankees organization now. I definitely believe the Yankees are signing some sort of stopgap at shortstop with one of these two guys taking it next year or year after.
So any ideas who you think that stopgap will be?
Well, I've heard Anderson Simmons. I mean, I would be okay with that. I know he plays a really good shortstop. He's not going to hit any. But a lot of the Yankees' problems last year was defense. And so moving his name has slipped me. The guy that played shortstop last year, I don't know why his name just slipped me. Back to second where he was, and putting Simmons there would kind of lock that down. That would move LeMahieu sharing time at third and first, kind of back to his utility role. Of course, you got Urshela that can play third or short. I don't know what's going to happen at first. I've joked around about Freddie Freeman. I would love for that to happen, but it's probably not going to. Maybe LeMahieu plays first. But it's going to be a stopgap type of guy. And if you look at the free agency market, it's really down to Simmons and guys of that ilk. And so barring a trade, I think that's probably where they're going.
Yeah, it makes sense. And they've got a lot of options. And that's kind of what I'm getting at here. Like you're talking about these 3 shortstop prospects to go in there. And it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that whole middle infield, because they got a lot of guys too. And that young stud that came up last year a little bit towards the end of the season and played for them as well. The home guy from the Bronx there. And so they've got all kinds of options there to go with. And so another one has been signed, and they spent a lot of money on him. So man, he seems to be the real deal. When you spend $4 million on a 17-year-old, wow. So he
only
might
17. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. Hey, and watch out, man. I really believe after the Yankees moved, I remember his name now. I just froze up there for a second. After they moved Gleyber Torres back to second, completely different player offensively and defensively. And so if you'll remember, Gleyber's rookie year hit 38 home runs. And since then, he's just been real average or even below with the bat. And so, man, if he busts back out, Yankees are going to be hard to deal with.
Very true, man. So we got a few guys to get here about retiring. Kyle Seager is out. So 2011 to 2021, all in a Mariners uniform, which is awesome. I always love that. I saw a stat today, too, that 20% of the guys in the Hall of Fame spent their career with one team. I thought it would have been a little less than that, but that's 20% with one team.
Josh, he's already doing it.
Yeah.
He's already doing it. This guy's in the Hall of Fame. I can already tell. He
Seager.
already said.
He's got it going for him, man. He's got it going for him. He may get the Mariners Hall of Fame. I'll give him that, right? We can all agree he's a Mariner Hall of Famer. Okay.
Yeah.
He goes in that Ring of Honor, right? He's got to. So
everybody gets a trophy.
Yeah. I have an old Xbox video game, actually. And I remember Kyle Seager from that. And I mean, you know, he's halfway decent the guy on there. So yeah, he's in the Hall of Fame for sure.
I'll give you the Mariners Hall of Fame. He should be there, man. He was a really good player. I think his career WAR was like 36 or 37. In 10 years, that's pretty good. Honestly, if he'd hung around a few more years, he probably could have got up there close to 50 or 60. So, you know, he had some really bad years, but he had some really good years. And his best year really was this last year, which is kind of strange. So, man, good player, feared hitter, played on some terrible Mariners teams, so you didn't really hear a lot about him. But, you know, he had a great career.
Yeah, 251 career
He's
average.
an awesome brother, too, by the way.
Yeah.
He's a stud.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, man. He made the Kyle made the All-Star team in 2014. His older brother is a stud. Obviously, you just said that. He had 1,395 career hits, which isn't bad. About halfway to 3,000. 242 homers, 807 ribbies, a 321 on-base percentage. His best power season was what you just said, David, last year, where he had 35 bombs and drove in 101. Hardly numbers of someone going downhill and hardly numbers of someone who's going to retire. So a little bit of a shock there, but I don't think he wanted to play anywhere but Seattle. You saw how emotional he was when he got taken out of the game. Right as the Mariners got eliminated, they pulled him off, and he got the ovation from the home fans, which was cool. I'm glad they did that. And it ended up being kind of the farewell there, which I didn't think was going to happen, but I knew he was going to go to a different team. But he definitely ended up retiring. So several teams were even interested in him. He was one of, if not the top third baseman on the market, unless you count Chris Bryant as the third baseman, which he can move all over the place. But he chose a family life. The Seagers have generational money, so this is all good for them. Kyle made over $100 million in his career, so I think he's going to be okay.
He's going to be okay. He's going to make it.
He's 34. He's got a family and a wife, and I'm sure he's going to be fine. So congratulations to Kyle Seager on an awesome career. And guys, to be honest with you, after after Felix Hernandez left, Kyle Seager was the face of the Mariners. Let's be honest.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
no doubt.
So this is no joke.
I can't remember. I don't think anybody else. So yeah.
No.
Yeah.
You really can't. Like, I mean, you go from the Griffeys to Felix and Edgar, and then you go straight to him after that, you know. And so it's a big deal, man, no doubt. And what a career he had. And so the next guy, Cameron Maybin, 2007 to 2021, long career, and only got 28 major league at bats in 2021. So he kind of knew the end was here. He's also 34 years old. When he came up, he was one of the top prospects in baseball. And the Tigers traded him in 2008 to the Marlins after only one season with the Tigers. I believe that was a trade for Miguel Cabrera, if I'm not mistaken, to be honest with you. His best season was actually with the Braves in 2015, Josh, where he hit 10 bombs and 59 ribbies. He had 72 career homers, 354 RBI, batted 254 for his career. Played from age 20 to 34 and had one season with the Davids Yankees as well in 2019, where he had 11 bombs and 32 ribbies in about half season. And he also played for the Cubs in 2020, 5 RBI in 18 games there. So he's moved around a lot. He made $40 million playing baseball, so he's okay as well. He wasn't even a star, and he made $40 million. So must be nice, man. I'm telling you. But that's what happens when you get to be a major league player. You get to make a lot of money. So thoughts on Cabernet, David?
Man, I was so mad after the 2019 season that the Yankees didn't sign Maben. To be honest with you, he came in and 100% stabilized that position. He brought some athleticism. He could play center in a pinch if you needed him to, mostly a left fielder, but speed on the bases. And, man, I was bummed. The Tigers signed him the next year, and I understood why he wanted to go there because he could go and start. But huge. I was a huge Cameron Maben fan for that half of a season that he was there.
Josh, what about that season with the Braves, man?
Yeah, I always remember him in the outfield, man. I mean, I think he played some great defense. I mean, I think his weakness was at the plate, but at the same time, I mean, he could always bunt a little bit, he was, and different things like that. I mean, but I mean, yeah, man. I mean, he has some great outfield skills and speed and a hose too.
Yeah, I think he had 40 stolen bases at least once, maybe twice. And like I said, he was scrappy. He's had a little bit of power. I don't want to say he was underrated, but he was just somebody you kind of overlooked, I think. And you go back and look at his career, and he was a useful player.
Yeah.
Yep, he had a great career, no doubt. Made a lot of money and on to whatever he's going to do now. So, John Lester, I'm telling you, man, this is an awesome one right here. So,
are you going to start
crying, DJ?
He's going to start crying.
I'm getting emotional about Lester. Oh Lord,
this is from
one
the
of
heart,
my World
man.
Series.
Yeah, yes, 200 career wins on the nose, which is the new awesome number for pitchers. 117 losses, 366 career ERA, 2,488 strikeouts. Will forever be one of the greatest moves in Chicago Cubs franchise history, signing him to a deal. 2016 World Series champion with the Cubs. John was 19-5 with a 2.44 ERA that season. He was unreal. Was the MVP of the National League Championship Series as well. 1-1 in the World Series. And in Game 7, which I watch every single year since it happened, he pitched 3 innings in relief for one run ball. And I thought he should have finished, but we went to Chapman, and we know what happened there. Chapman got blown up and ended up actually getting the win in that game because he blew the save, which is still crazy to me. But John Lester had no business throwing 3 innings in that game after the haul he had in the World Series. But he just said, give me the ball, man. Like, I love that stuff, man.
Yeah, I remember watching
it. Love it.
Yeah. I mean, it was all guts. Yeah, that was awesome.
For sure, man. And, like I said, be one of the greatest signings we've ever made in the history for a free agent. Once we got him, it changed a lot of things when you had Hendricks and Lester at the top of the rotation. And ended up leading to something awesome. And so I know, David, you probably know him a lot as a Red Sox. So let's hear your perspective on Lester.
Yeah, man, there's no doubt. And very tough guy, cancer survivor, which is, amazing. I know a lot of people will disagree, but, John Lester, in my opinion, is a Hall of Famer. I know he's borderline on the statistics, really, to be honest with you, but it goes back to, if you name the better pitchers in his generation, he's in there. And played in a lot of big games. There's a reason playoff teams wanted him on their team, is because he was a gamer. And, yeah, he had a couple crappy seasons here or there that kind of drug his stats down. But just a super consistent guy, the guy you would want on your team. I was so glad when he was out of the AL East, to be honest with you. So I'm a huge John Lester fan as long as he's somewhere else.
So Josh, you gotta be one of those guys that you have to take into consideration. John Lester won World Series with the Red Sox. He won a World Series with the Cubs. If you're a guy that's winning World Series is where you're going, a la Kurt Schilling, where you're winning with different franchises too, Boston, Arizona, all that matters. It matters a lot for how awesome a career you have, and it matters a lot for your Hall of Fame. So what do you think on that, Josh?
Absolutely. I mean, yes. Absolutely agree. With the Red Sox, like he won, and fucking things, and then he came to the Cubs and he won. So, yeah.
It was an awesome career, man. And like I said, man, every time I sit and watch that game, I'm in awe of how I almost had a heart attack that night. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was one of the craziest nights of my entire life. The best game I've ever seen as far as the ending of it. But getting to that point was not easy. We lost that game like 4 different times and somehow still won that game. So, John Lester, thanks so much from all the Cubs fans, man. What an awesome career. And we owe him a lot. So the last guy we got on the list here, David, I'm going to have you talk about it real quick. Since he played mainly with the Yankees, Melky Cabrera, and he's been out of the league for a little while now, but officially has retired. 144 homers, 854 RBI, 285 career average, and was on the Yankees from 2005 to 2009. So what are your thoughts on Cabrera?
I always loved the Milkman, to be honest with you. He always brought energy. Really, with the Yankees, he was mostly a fourth outfielder type of guy. He played center field. He was pretty decent center fielder. He's kind of pudgy, so you wouldn't think he could move as good as he could, but had a good arm, switch hitter. He had some clutch hits. I always liked Melky. I'm be honest with you, on a lot of other teams, he would have played a lot more and maybe put up bigger stats, but he was seemingly always stuck behind somebody. When he came up, Bernie Williams was there. Then it was Johnny Damon. Then it was Brett Gardner. So he was always just kind of stuck behind somebody, and you still managed to put up good stats. What I had forgotten, DJ, was that year with San Francisco, 346 he batted that year, MVP of the All-Star game, and then whoops, steroids.
Yeah, because he missed the whole second half of the year.
Yeah,
he did.
Giants. He got suspended, and that was kind of the end of the Milkman. But that'll show you what steroids can do for a guy, apparently. But
doggone right,
ever with the Giants. Man, he was a stud. Yeah.
Yeah. I had completely forgotten about him being so awesome that year. But again, a very useful player. Played on a World Series team in 2009, kind of as the fourth outfielder. Part of the year he started, and then he lost his job. And but I always like to watch Melky play. I remember when they brought him up, I think he was 22. The Yankees aren't known for doing stuff like that. If you follow them at all, they don't bring up guys. And it was a desperation move. Bernie Williams, I believe it was who was in the outfield then. He was hurt. And so anyway, it was fun to watch his career and kind of follow him and enjoyed him with the Yankees.
Yeah, the old Milkman. So he took steroids. So Josh and you both put him in the Hall of Fame. So just because he ate steroids.
Well, I wouldn't say him, but others maybe, but not Melky.
There's a few. There's at least one guy with 700 home runs. I definitely would.
So David, we kind of talked about this a little bit last week with Ryan on the show. We brought up Keith Hernandez and found out something cool a couple weeks ago that he's getting his number retired by the Mets. Man, the more that I hear about Keith Hernandez and the more stories that come up about how just great a player he was, like his stats don't necessarily pop out to you like Hall of Fame. I mean, they're great stats, no doubt, but I'm telling you, man, the more you hear about Keith Hernandez in his game, the more you wonder about what we should do with this guy. So absolute stud. Got into a huge party lifestyle that messed up his career a lot on the field. As we saw in the Mets documentary, the drugs made him see crazy things in games sometimes when he was playing. He was a 1986 champion with the Mets, had 2,182 hits, 162 bombs, 296 average, a 60.3 WAR, which is no joke. He had an awesome glove as well. 1,071 ribbies, so he's over 1,000. Played 7 seasons with the Mets and was 3-time All-Star in that uniform. So first of all, Josh, I'll kick this off to you. What do you think of when you think of Keith Hernandez? And did you watch the Mets documentary by any chance?
No, I haven't watched it yet, actually, and I've been wanting to watch that. And so I'm not going to talk a whole lot about him until I do. But I do remember I have an old baseball card of Keith Hernandez, an old Topps baseball card from like 1985 Topps. You know, and I like his stuff. I remember Keith had like all the mustache that was black and like slick black hair and stuff like that. Yeah, but so.
Yes, he did, man. That was an awesome stash he had. So, David,
Yeah,
you actually have like a Hall of Fame case for him. What are your thoughts on Hernandez?
So let me just back up. I don't think Keith Hernandez should be in the Hall of Fame, but I think he will be. I think the veterans are going to put him in, which is sad. Yeah, they're already talking about it. And this, again, anybody who listens to this podcast is probably rolling their eyes right now. This is my problem with the Hall of Fame. They're going to let a guy who had a good career, and we're all going to pat him on the back. He's going to be in the Mets Hall of Fame and retire his number. And that's where this thing needs to stop. He was a great fielder, which was responsible for most of his WAR. He was a good contact hitter. 0 Hall of Fame statistics. Not one. But this guy's going up in the Hall of Fame, mark my words. But I think it's a great move by the Mets. It's smart. He's been a broadcaster for him. This is how you celebrate these guys. These guys shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. Celebrate them where they were. Let him be in the Mets Hall of Fame. Let him retire his number. That's all well-deserved, but he should not be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, good point. And I think that team Hall of Fame is really special, man. And there's, almost every team that you see besides the Yankees, and the Yankees rightfully so, because they're running out of jersey numbers to retire, and rightfully so, man, because of their history. But every other team besides them, pretty much, it's exclusive. Like, you're not in them. It doesn't go very deep. Maybe the Red Sox and Giants, Dodgers, the historical teams that go way back, go a little deeper. But, man, these clubs are exclusive. So for him to get in the Mets, and there's not many on the Mets for sure, is definitely an honor. And I think you're right. It should stop there. But, man.
And he's in 2 Hall of Fames, 2 team Hall of Fames. He's in the Cardinals Hall of Fame as well. I mean, that's pretty awesome. But like I said, that's where it needs to stop.
And it's hard to get in the Cardinals Hall of Fame because they've had a ton of studs over the years there for sure, as much as I hate to say that. So our last little topic here before we get into Josh's part of the show, Ken Rosenthal, guys, was fired by the MLB Network for calling out Rob Manfred. The comments in question I'm going to go over here, guys. I pulled it all up. I looked into this a little bit more. It got him fired early on in COVID. Rosenthal was critical of the handling of the pandemic, first of all. He also said Manfred was making dead on arrival proposals and tone-deaf public remarks while negotiating with teams and owners. So before this lockout happened, he quoted him as saying that. He also said Manfred was beholden to the owners and out of touch with the players. He also said Rob was lacking statesman. He lacks statesman-like presence and superior vision of the best commissioners that have been in the past. He was critical of the 60-game season in 2020. Now the lockout in 2021, where he wrote the last of his words employed when he said, "The mere suggestion of a canceled season seemingly over financial concerns is offensive."
Amen.
Manfred and the owners, supposed stewards of the game, are turning the national punchline, effectively threatening to take their ball and go home while the country struggles with medical, economical, and society concerns. And Rod Manfred fired him for that. So I know that's a lot of quotes, but I don't see a single one that got him fired, in my opinion. I think Rod Manfred is a turd and a soft baby. I'll leave it at that. So, David, what are your thoughts to start with?
Yeah, first of all, Ken Rosenthal is going to be fine. I mean, he's one of the best, baseball reporters that there is. I don't know where he's going to land. Probably The Athletic. It seems like where a lot of these guys go. But if he ended up with ESPN as a sideline guy, I don't think there's anybody better than Ken Rosenthal. I think it's pretty obvious everything he said was true, and that Rob Manfred is a complete disaster of a commissioner. And we've pointed to tons of reasons of that in the past. And yeah, I just think this is terrible. But Ken Rosenthal will be fine. But Rob Manfred needs to go.
Rob Manfred is an absolute joke. The worst commissioner I've ever seen in my entire life. And I'm not just saying that, he really is. And baseball is in the state it's in right now, and we're not going to have a full season. It's a lot because of him. So what a turd, and unbelievable that he did that to him. But you're right, David. He still has a job at The Athletic and at Fox Sports, so he'll be fine. Josh, what are your thoughts?
Well, he kicked the All-Star game out of Atlanta because of all the rights.
Amen, brother.
Game to Colorado, and the rights there are even worse.
Yeah.
So, you need to keep politics out of sport.
Yeah. It was the most racially tone deaf thing they've ever done. They're going to honor Hank Aaron, and they move it to a city that's basically predominantly white. I mean, not that should even matter, but I mean, just how tone deaf is that? Yeah. It's just unreal. There's other ways to protest that besides I'm going to take my ball and go home. We're going to go over here. Oh, whoops, that their voting, laws are worse. And it's a predominantly white city. I mean, it's nonsense. That should have been the biggest celebration of Hank Aaron ever. And I think it's hilarious that the Braves ended up in the World Series and winning it. It was just kind of spitting.
That's what I was about to say. I was like, yeah. Rod, you can take that and you know what with it. I thought that after the World Series.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think he showed up for any of the Atlanta home games. Did he in the World Series? I hope not, because he probably.
I don't believe he did. Yeah.
I don't think he did. I really don't.
What a clown.
He's a clown, man. Absolute joke of a human being. He was drunk when he handed the World Series trophy to the Dodgers last year. I mean, what a class act, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, and actually at the end of the last game of the World Series in Houston, he got booed off the stage there.
Yeah.
Well deserved.
Yeah.
So right along those lines, Josh, talk about this season with the Braves. I know I'm throwing a loaded question at you here, so I want you to kind of lead up to this season. So talk about how you became a Braves fan, talk about your favorite players growing up, and then talk about this unbelievable 2021 season that was for the Braves.
Well, I'm from Alabama, as y'all know, so I popped out of the womb as a Braves fan. Because it's the Braves down south.
Yeah.
Now you have the Marlins, but anyway. Yeah, but I used to watch them like constantly, like and stuff. Because in the 80s, they're just absolutely terrible teams. I'd go over to my grandparents' house and watch the game, and I would end up crying myself to sleep because the Braves were so terrible. Yeah. And then in the 90s, it's just like, bam, man. This is awesome. We go from worst to first, and like all the division titles like in a row, and I'm in the South, and so it's like all Braves country down here yeah.
So how about this team this year? So, that had to be, the last time they won it, you were probably junior high school age. And then now all of a sudden, boom, here they are, champions again, man.
Yeah. I was in the 9th grade in 1995. So, it was a long time ago. Yeah. But you're talking about this year, man. Like April, May, June, July, it was like win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, loss, win, win. And then all of a sudden, man, in August, it was just like all the moves, like in things. It's just like, man, I think we might have a, halfway decent chance at this thing. Because after, I was trying to think, after Acuna got hurt, all the Braves fans, I think, were like, oh, this is it, man. I mean, we have no hope now. And so it was just incredible. I mean, all the moves and things. I mean, and I mean, 'cause I've heard people talk. I mean, after the World Series, all the Braves, I mean, all they did was just, I mean, I mean, I mean, like all the money, these guys. Well, I mean, you're trying to win, so.
Yeah,
That was amazing trade deadline moves that they pulled, man. I mean, getting all those guys. I mean, at the time, to be honest with you, I was like, what are the Braves doing? But
yeah, I agree.
It absolutely saved their season. I mean, those guys, Soler and said that I can't remember the other dude they picked up, Adam Duvall.
Yeah.
Gosh, man, it saved their season, and it was exciting, man. To see them.
Eddie Rosario too. I mean, he was.
Yeah, Eddie Rosario. I couldn't think of the third one. When I got them, I'm like, dude, they all play the same spot. That's weird, but they made it all work.
Yeah, but then and then also I want to talk about the bullpen in the playoffs, man. Tyler Matzik.
Yeah, man.
I mean, he came out of nowhere, and I was like, I want him to have the ball. I mean, all the time. I mean, I'm like, goodness gracious. He was just like incredible.
He was incredible. As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, the last game that they won, I thought, I'm getting this right. I thought they pulled Matzik early. I thought, what are y'all doing?
I agree with you.
With the ball.
I said the same thing. I was like, man, this is the 8th inning. I mean, that's fine, but I mean, I hope he goes out in the 9th, but he didn't.
I thought it was crazy, but it all worked out.
Yeah.
Yep. And Brian Snicker can keep his job for another year, right, Josh?
One more year. Yeah.
Josh, we got to talk about that, man. We got to talk about that.
He's kind of like Bobby Cox to me. I mean, Cox, all the pennants and stuff, and he won one World Series. I was like, how is that even possible?
That's what Ryan Hill said last week. Ryan was all like, we won all these division titles, and Cox got us one stinking World Series. And Snicker comes along and he gets us one just like that. So yeah, you're one of those guys that fire Snicker. Now he's got the title for you, man. So
he's bought himself at least 2 more years.
Yeah. Yes.
2. Yeah. All right. 2. Yeah.
So Josh, man, on a serious note, like, congratulations, man. I know you bust my balls all the time for being a Cubs fan, and I kind of, go back and forth with you all the time. But man, that's really awesome for you guys, and the the Braves finally pulling it off and getting a win here. And it really is cool that you got to experience that and go through it, since it's been such a long time for you, man.
Yeah, I have a bunch of boys in our house, as y'all know, but man, I was going absolutely bat crazy. I mean, like I threw the remote control up against the wall or something. And one of the doing, Mr. Josh, I was like, you have no idea. Since 1995, guys, y'all aren't even born.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a neat experience for sure. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That really is cool. So Josh, talk a little bit about your high school baseball days, man. Talk to us about where you went and how those days went.
Yeah, I went to a small private school in Gadsden, Alabama, and it's called Westbrook Christian. And as y'all know, I am a guy who actually got to have a high school coach and a college coach. I mean, and so I think that's kind of rare. I mean, it probably happened before, but I mean, I had Coach Hall as my high school coach and my college coach at Temple. So, and of course, Robert, was on the team. But yeah, I was able to start actually in the 9th grade there as a freshman. I played second base in high school. So, I mean, I was able to start 9th, 10th, 11th, and my last year at Westbrook. And I made All-State my last year at Westbrook. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. So, and I have a funny story about Coach Hall actually in high school. He was driving a bus, and different things like that. And I mean, you know, and it was a road trip, and he pulled off the side of the road, and he was like, "Hey guys, I want y'all to get out and let's talk." And I was like, "Coach, there's like grass and weeds and stuff over here." And I mean, you know, then at Temple, you know, I always remember, you know, one of his sayings was, man, guys, you're just like a lost ball in high weeds. And I thought back, I was like, is this where he got that from? But I have no idea, you know. But Coach Hall was awesome.
He just pulled you off on the side of the road, huh?
Yeah, he wanted to have a chat about the game or something. And I mean, you know, there's like high grass and stuff, and I mean, you know, we're all itching and stuff. I was like, is this really worth this? We're gonna get like, you know, like I don't know.
Hey, Josh, were you on the bus when we picked up the hitchhiker?
Yes.
That's still my favorite Coach Hall moment and story. And maybe my favorite story of all the Temple years. But I remember we pulled up beside his bus. You know, he's got his arm hanging out the window, and Hoss Cobb's up there with his construction hat on. He's got his arm hanging out the front window. And I just remember the double take, you know, as we went by. Of course, we all just fell on the floor laughing. And then I don't know if y'all remember, when we got wherever it was we were supposed to go, we had already dropped him off. That's one of the few times Coach Hall was mad.
Yeah.
I mean, he was mad. But it was
very rare to see him mad. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was like, you guys know what he could have done to you guys, and he could have had a gun. And man, that's still, I think, to this day, my favorite Coach Hall moment. It was awesome.
You're right about that. He never got mad at us, and he was fired up in that one, man. That's for sure. He was so angry as a hornet. One of the only times I've ever seen that, for sure. So, Josh, talk to us about how you got to Temple, man.
Well, actually, I had a few offers out of high school, and I ended up going. Ended up going to a small community college up in Boaz, Alabama. It's called Snead State Community College, and I got redshirted there. And then after that, I was moved to first base, and I played there. And I mean, you know, because I was a left-handed bat, and so like at Snead State, I mean, you know, I would say I hit probably like 8 or 9 bombs my sophomore year there, and like in things. And so after that, I had a couple of other offers, but then Coach Hall, he reached out to me, and he was like, like and stuff. And I mean, you know, because he was like, man, I heard you're into music and things as well. And I was like, yeah. And so he was talking about Temple's music department, and so I mean, you know, I wanted to go up there, and it all worked out from there. So yeah.
Awesome.
That is awesome, man. So, what seasons were you at Temple? So what years would that have been as far as when the spring season happened? Was that 2001, 2002? What years were you at Temple?
I was there in, let's see, in, yes.
2001 and 2. So yeah, you came in them years. And that was David, that was our junior and senior years right there. And
yeah, it was the same for me. Yeah.
Same for you. Yeah, for sure. And so, yeah, man, you came in and gave us that lefty bat, man. And you, we were playing at Ingalls Stadium, man. And that's got that monster in right field. And
yes,
so Josh, you hit them off that monster, didn't you?
Yep, I hit a few, and I was like, "Dadgummit!"
Yeah,
a green monster in right, and I would have hit a lot more bombs. But I mean, you know, whatever. But yeah.
Josh, you always reminded me for some reason of Sean Casey. I don't know if you got that vibe at all, but I mean, you kind of had the same trajectory in the ball.
For the Reds, right? Sean Casey.
Yeah. You always kind of had that style. You were always kind of that style of hitter. You know, he was a good line drive gap hitter and high average, and that's what you always reminded me of.
Yeah. Yeah, and also, guys, I don't talk about y'all too because David, man, I mean, I always liked when you're on the mound. I mean, because it was like ground ball after ground ball after ground ball, man. And I mean, it was you and Ben Foster and I think Ryan Hill.
Yep.
And but after that, man, we had some pictures, and I was like, oh my gosh, Coach, you today. I was like, I was over at first base. It's a Christian school, and I was like, I shouldn't be, but yeah, I had some nice words over at first base. Certain times, with some guys on the mound for us, but yeah.
I appreciate it, man. You came at a great time, honestly, man. I thought about this today when you showed up. We had some big needs on that side of the field. I mean, because you ended up playing second our senior year. I mean, we didn't have anybody, and like I said, just filling a great need in the lineup too with the lefty bat.
For sure, man. And you're right.
Man. I want to talk about DJ for just a second too. He was always like, I mean, he had like crap all over his jersey and his pants were all torn. And I was like, this is a tough guy. And he plays in center field and hadn't even met you yet. I'm like, yep, that's it. And, but he was like balls to the wall on the outfield. I mean, he probably hit, I don't know how many fences, like head on, I think. He's just going after balls and stuff, man. Yeah, but you played so hard and it was awesome.
I appreciate that.
Brett Garner's his favorite player.
No.
Yeah.
Well, you know what though? It's funny you say that, Josh, because it would always be the same thing too when I was out in center. I'd be like, oh my gosh, he's coming in now. So I'd have to run into walls and try to keep him in the park.
Yeah, that's right.
So I had my hands full, man, for a long time there out there when those guys especially would come in to pitch, man. So that's a hilarious story for sure, man. And yeah, you could mash, man. That's for sure. You were a great hitter for us. And like David said, man, I forget sometimes you played a lot of second for us too, man. We always think of you as a first baseman, but you definitely filled that.
I did the last year. Yes, I played second some. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so you moved over there a little bit too and helped out too. So that's awesome, man. You had a really good career for us, and it's great to be your teammate, man. And you got 2 years there at Snead State and 2 years at Temple, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Awesome, man. So that's really cool. You got the 4 years into baseball, man, and it was really cool to be your teammate. And so I gotta read this from the man himself, the legend, Coach Hall. He had a lot to say about you, and rightfully so. As like you said earlier, he coached you in high school and college, man. So
yeah, it's kind of rare.
That's never happened unless it's a dad or something, and it's really cool. So he says, well, as you know, Josh is a diehard Bama and Braves fan. Josh was always a very dependable guy. I could say a lot of great things about him since I've known him since 9th grade when he moved to Westbrook. Always enjoyed having him around. He was always thinking about the game. I get a kick out of seeing him sparring with you guys, especially about the Braves. It's amazing to see so many of you guys being in position to make a difference in kids' lives, and he and Heather are doing that at the boys' home for sure. I want to say that he wins the award out of everybody for being the neatest and most organized as well. He says Josh was a great player, good glove usually at first base, and he did pitch, especially at Westbrook, and did a good job for us when he was in high school. He had a very steady bat and was from the left side as well, no doubt. And a little tidbit on Josh sang the national anthem at the beginning of our state football championship game in Birmingham at Legion Field in 1997. Robert was playing and Josh was singing. So that makes a lot of sense with this singing for you.
Yeah, I love Coach Hall, man. I mean, he's an awesome person, and I mean, he made a huge impact on me, and I'm sure both of y'all too. I mean,
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's just he's just an awesome dude, and I appreciate those words from him.
Yeah, he definitely was excited to talk about you for sure, and to kind of close here a little bit too. Talk a little bit about what you do with the kids, man, because what you do is I commend you, man. You have a really big heart to be able to do what you do, man. So just talk about what you and Heather do there for the kids, man.
Yeah, well, I have to tell you, it's not me. It's all God and all through Jesus. I mean, and actually, I was able. I mean, because I was at Temple and I learned a lot of that stuff there. Dr. Kemp and all those guys were just, awesome teachers of the Bible and things like that. And now looking back, I would say now looking back Tennessee Temple had a huge impact on me. So, and now I'm at the Alabama Baptist Children's Home. I'm at the Oxford campus with Heather, and now we have a campus care home, and it's all high school age boys in the house. And so, all these boys come from hard places, man. Like drugs, abuse, abandonment, all kinds of different issues. I would say, it's just it's all God and it's not really us. But like this past year, I had a young man, he came to Christ at our church. And I would say that that's probably the biggest, because I was more happy about that than, about the Braves in Alabama, but but yeah.
Yeah, that's really awesome, man. You have to have a huge heart to be able to do what you do, man. And I always look at, what you're doing and everything for those kids, and God bless you, man. Seriously. Cause
I agree.
you are doing an awesome thing there, man. And it takes special people to do that. That would be really hard for someone like me to do that. I'm just being honest with you. But you have that special gift, and your wife as well. And you guys are doing great things, man. So I know God is working really great things through your life, man. And you've done some really cool things. So I definitely commend you on that for sure, man. What an awesome thing you do, and your wife. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's a calling from God and it's not us, just like I said. So yeah, but
that's really cool, man. Well, Josh, man, I really appreciate you coming on, man. Don't be a stranger, man. I know you're busy with that for sure, and I get it. But we would love to have you back on sometime and get together sometime, man. The one thing that's really cool, David, we don't really get to see each other a ton on the earth, but in heaven one day we'll be together for eternity, which is an awesome thought. So yeah. God bless you, man. And thank you for coming on, sharing your story with us and talking some baseball, man. It's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've enjoyed it. So yeah.
Hey, is it okay if I pray this next year that Alabama is no good in football?
You can try.
I've had enough. You got a good West Virginian as your coach. I need him to retire. It's getting old, Josh. It's got to go.
I know. Well, actually, he's getting on up there. He's in his now, so it's not going to be a whole lot longer. So you might have your wish before long.
Hey, on the West Virginia message board, I don't know how you got this nickname, but they call him Brother Saban, and they keep saying Brother Saban is going to come home for a final, caveat there with the Mountaineers. So
I wouldn't call him brother. Because he's a liberal Catholic.
Well,
he's not a brother.
You can't win them all. You just can't win them all.
Yeah, that's right. But he wins football games, so I can kind of pass that, I guess.
Yeah. I love how he sent our Senator Joe Manchin's the only one holding it all together up there in Washington, and Saban was trying to influence him anyway. I won't get into politics on our show, but stick to football, dude.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I totally agree with you, David. Because I saw that and I was like, dude, just coach football, Nick. You don't have to do all this crap. Yeah.
But and if you send him a letter, why do we have to make a statement out of it? You know what I mean? Like the letter wasn't good enough. We got the message, pal. But anyway,
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway,
That's enough college football talk.
I know, DJ, the best sport. I'm gonna say it's the best sport. I'm sorry. It's better than MLB. I love college football. I love everything about it.
You're crazy.
Every Thursday night, Friday night, and all day on Saturday from the end of August until January. That's what's on.
Absolutely, man. I mean, all the stadiums are packed, the outside's packed. I mean, if you go to an NFL game, you don't even get that. So,
hey, DJ, until this year, nobody was getting paid. And so, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Give them a break, dude. That's where it was at.
I apologize to our fans for the last 2.5 minutes of this show. Oh, that's 2.5 minutes of my life I'll never get back talking college football.
The greatest sport, the greatest atmosphere. It's not even close.
Oh man. Well, guys, it's been awesome. And hopefully this moron Manfred and all these clowns can get this thing figured out here pretty soon and we can have baseball on schedule. They got to get it done here in the next few weeks for sure in order to have a full season. And hopefully March 31st, we're all celebrating opening day. Doesn't look that good right now, but maybe things will change. And these things tend to do that here from time to time when you think it sounds bad. So everybody go to our YouTube channel. Please subscribe. Thank you so much for listening to our show tonight. And everybody have a great night.
We'll see you.